it just works. Almost done wrapping up my review time with the Surface Pro 9. This is the SQ3 version of the Surface Pro 9. It has the Qualcomm internals, not the Intel internals, but also provides us with that great 5G radio. And I've had a few conversations with other techies really trying to figure out what is it that we're trying to accomplish with a mobile productivity tablet, a slate style computer that can connect to the 5G and get work done out on the go. We have to have these different conversations about performance and battery life, mobility, graphics, gaming, all of those things that someone might want to engage with when they're out on the road, and also trying to keep their computer solution as manageable as they can. What is it that we want in a tablet, especially a tablet that can kind of mimic a proper PC? The most positive things I can say about the Pro 9 SQ3 5G edition, I'm just gonna call it the SQ3 from here on out. Solid performance, much better software support than I was expecting for Windows on ARM. It's not a proper x86 Intel or AMD computer, but it's still getting a lot of those computery things done pretty well. I really like always being connected, popping in a 5G SIM card, pretty sweet. And then also, it's kind of silly, but it runs so well. The performance per watt is really exciting, especially for how it doesn't seem to generate as much heat and we don't need fans to keep it running at a consistent tier. I was expecting much worse teething pains, and so far it's only come in these little glimpses like DaVinci Resolve. I would love to be able to cut some simple videos on a slate like this. I'm very excited to see DaVinci supporting the iPad Pro. I think we'll finally start taking ARM-powered solutions a bit more seriously when more of those software developers are getting on board. DaVinci Resolve installs, and it looks like everything completes properly, but it can't see the Qualcomm GPU, so you can't get any work done for that video editing software. But the flip side of that is everything Windows 11 is pretty much on point. We're not dealing with a hamstrung version of Windows to any significant degree. Yes, I can already hear some folks in the comments talking about support for legacy software and x86, and that's gonna sap performance, and all of that is totally true. And I don't believe any of it's really a deal breaker when we look at the landscape of who might be a good fit for a 5G connected tablet. I think this could be a good fleet vehicle, right? You could talk to IT departments and get them really outfitted with stuff that properly supports Microsoft services like the entire Microsoft Office suite, less issues using app versions of Microsoft Office, and it's more the full-fledged grown-up versions of Microsoft Office. You might not be able to deploy an Android tablet if you have to jump through some hoops to get your field employees up to speed. And I did cover this in a previous video just looking at performance, and where I was very much taken by surprise, all of the games that play reasonably well on a Windows on ARM solution. I installed Steam, I went through my Steam library, loaded up a bunch of games, some of them some kind of graphics intense titles from sort of 2 console generations ago, but still some heavier performance tiers, and this little tablet was playing them all directly. Obviously, an iPad Pro is gonna be a more powerful overall solution, but it's not really a computer operating system. It's a sort of a smartphone expanded tablet operating system. You just want to fire up a game like Shredder's Revenge or Tetris Effect, that's not gonna play on an iPad. And if you're gonna give me the argument that, oh, well, it's a 5G tablet so you can do the game streaming, well, I mean, you know, Game Pass is gonna play really well on a Microsoft product as well as it does on an Apple product. That is a perk for a 5G connected tablet, by the way, being able to stream some games whenever you have good network signal. But it's all the little things that I think kind of took me by surprise. I was expecting a little bit more of like a Windows RT style solution, which, you know, a real stripped, very basic, bare bones idea of Windows. This just feels more like proper Windows, getting down into things like supporting accessories, IO expansion, and a secondary display. I can never remember which port on this is supposed to go, but this is my battery-powered 4K UPerfect. That is not the fault of the Surface. I had it plugged into the wrong port on the UPerfect. And there you go. That's all you need to do. 4K display plugged directly into the SQ3. It's just an extension of Windows at this point. Right now in iPad land, what we're trying to suss out is Stage Manager, and you can maybe have only a couple apps running, and maybe you need a newer iPad because an older iPad isn't going to be powerful enough to send out another video signal. And here, this is one of the advantages of having a more robust operating system just acknowledge an accessory like a 4K monitor? It makes this feel a little bit more like a productivity solution, even if it's a little less fun, and we know that it's a little less powerful in some of those like really graphics intense or content creatory kinds of ways. We can take this stuff for granted. We want to give Apple the benefit of the doubt because they're only into the second generation of making their own SoC, Apple Silicon. But Apple keeps getting a pass on things like accessories and peripheral support, where my Surface Pro 9, this Qualcomm-powered version, has had no issues playing with any number of docks and expansion, I/O ports, being able to plug in these kinds of accessories like other screens. It is a little less powerful than an Intel version where that can, I believe that can support triple monitor. This is only going to give you dual display, but this is still an order of magnitude simpler and more capable than trying to shoehorn iPad OS into a more desktop productivity solution. And the flip side of that being, obviously you can get some really great prices on a true laptop. A MacBook is a solid buy right now, but let's not pretend it didn't take Apple some time just to figure out laptop hubs. And it's decently long-lived. If I get this Surface Pro 9, with just a pin tool, I can swap out the SSD and upgrade it. That's a huge perk in this day and age, having that kind of upgradability in something which is usually completely glued shut and locked down. I'm glad we're seeing the competition because it's really sparking an interesting conversation at Intel, at AMD, and with Qualcomm making not just consumer grade, but professional grade hardware that's more portable and more power efficient. But we'll give Apple unlimited runway to try and figure this stuff out while we expect Windows to take off like a helicopter. It's gotta be perfect and support everything and spoon feed me exactly the same way that I always use my stuff. It is absolutely fair that we're digging in and that we're finding some of those criticisms because that's how products are gonna get better. But I really bristle at this buy or don't buy, thumbs up or thumbs down. And it always seems that we find some inane metric to call this entire experiment a failure instead of looking at the more nuanced pros and cons. I just don't want us to lose sight of a more well-rounded comparison of features and performance per dollar. This to me feels more like a good office document work on the go kind of solution with some fun perks like being able to play real PC games. And it is on the pricey side when we're talking about tablets and we're talking about especially cell phone radio enabled, 5G enabled tablets. But the pricing here isn't as outlandish as some folks are trying to make it seem. SQ3, 256 gigs of storage with the keyboard and the pen. There's the little Surface pen that's tucked away in the keyboard there. Putting this all together, we're talking just under $1,600. That's a pretty fair chunk of change. You have to really know you want this for that mobility 5G radio experience, and you're willing to make some of those subtle compromises on legacy software support. That sounds crazy to some people out there because you could just go buy a cheap laptop. That's not the gig though, because we want a tablet, we want something more portable, we want something ultra sleek. You're gonna have to move some of those dollars around. This is just under $1,600. What if we got a 256 gig iPad Pro and we outfitted it with a keyboard that had a trackpad on it, and then we outfitted it with an Apple Pencil, and we really kept it sort of feature complete to our setup here? We'd be talking about almost $1,900 for the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro, which is more powerful, ARM SoC to ARM SoC, but isn't quite as capable or as robust from an operating system perspective. Absolutely talking about sort of the bleeding edge, tip of the spear, most expensive premium tier slate computers that are out there, but $280 difference is absolutely in that ballpark where someone could make an informed purchasing decision. Do I want the more computery experience, or do I want the more powerful but more consumery tablet experience? There's no winner there. That's a reasonable fight with nuanced pros and cons. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as I'm wrapping up. I'm gonna have one big old video left to put out on the SQ3 here, the Surface Pro 9, before I send it back to Microsoft. Those last little bits, things that you'd like me to try, things that you're curious about. And really, let's try to dig in a little bit better here, because it's not just, it's less powerful than the Intel. There's a lot more happening, and we wanna see products build off of this. This SQ3 is in a position now where I feel a lot more comfortable recommending this as a premium tier solution. Someone shopping premium tier dollars, I feel they're gonna face far fewer compromises so long as they're really being considerate of their practical needs, what they're trying to do when they're out on the go. I gotta tell you though, it's really been a blast to use because it takes me all the way back to some of those early days. You know, this is my Surface RT and it had the custom keyboard blade. Ooh, it's super dusty. Has the custom keyboard blade for Music Creator Studio, and I wish we still had some stuff like that. Or my my Nokia, the Lumia 2520, which was an LTE connected tablet. So exciting to see this type of evolution. It is more capable, it is more powerful. I was all about these other Microsoft tablet initiatives, and it was always frustrating to me that we couldn't really review them for what they were. Oh, it looks like Windows, but it can't run Windows software, and then we'd never get developers on board. Now we can kind of blur the lines a little bit better. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching, sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel, and leaving me those comments so that we can extend this conversation and really kind of dig into the nooks and crannies of all this exciting tech. All the support lately has been absolutely fantastic. Those of you clicking links in the description down below, smashing bell icons, hitting my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from my Patreon, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list is basically the coolest collection of tech pals in the universe. So I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch, not so much on the Facebooks or the Instagrams, and I will catch you all on the next video.